everyone, Jane here. Thank you so much for watching today. Welcome if you're new and welcome back if you're a returning viewer. Today I am starting off a new Canson art book. I recently finished my previous one, my first one, and I have got a flip through video on the channel which I will link at the end. And I wanted to do something in it that was using lots of my favourite things. So my favourite theme, my favourite paints, my favourite books, my favourite collage, and so that's what I'm doing today. Now this Canson art book is the one with the Saunders Waterford watercolour paper in it, which I really love. I don't know why I really love it, I just really do. And it's the landscape A5 version, but I turn it portrait so that we got the spiral at the top. I just find that works really well for me. So you will see there that I chose some Kuretake Gansai Tambi paints to start with. I really enjoy these watercolours. Now, they're not necessarily for everybody. I know some people can't get on with them and find them a bit weird to work with, but I do actually tend to use them mostly for background things. So I'm not trying to do any fine art with them. I think maybe that's the difference. But I really enjoy the big pans. I enjoy getting lots of colour down, and I enjoy the way they feel. So today I'm actually using colours from the 36 set, which is a little bit unusual for me. I often gravitate towards the Art Nouveau set, but I actually wanted to do an industrial themed page today. Industrial is one of my favourite themes ever, and because it was the first page in my new Canson art book, I wanted to do something that I would really enjoy. And so I chose colours that I thought went with that theme. So they're sort of like a bit on the rusty patinery sort of vibe. As usual, I will I will list in the description box all the things I've used. I don't add links anymore because if links are no longer available, you can get a strike from YouTube, which means that eventually if they keep giving you strikes, you can get your channel taken away, which I don't want to happen. But also because of that point, there are lots of companies these days come and go. Products aren't always available anyway from, they're retired and things like that. So I would say use what you have, or use similar, or, do your own research to find where you might be able to get these things or similar. So the colours I have used are yellow ochre, burnt sienna, raw umber deep, turquoise green deep and malachite. And I just really watered them down and made some rough, square-ish, rectangle-ish shapes. They weren't really, and then I sort of started throwing in some lines. I left it all to dry naturally. I didn't heat dry it, which is unusual for me, because I like how they blend. I like how you get the little runs and the blooms and things like that. And once it had dried, as always, it does dry back slightly, a little bit lighter. Actually, I find these do often dry back quite a bit lighter, but these colours I think were a bit stronger, so they haven't dried as light as I would normally find them. But I wanted then to just add in a little bit something extra, just because it's fun to play around with your mediums. And I'm going in with my Neocolor 2s, and I picked 4 colours that felt matched the colours that were already down. So the colours that I picked were raw umber, russet, ochre and malachite green. You can see in the names they're very similar to the names because of the paints, because they're using similar sorts of colour pigments. I'm just going in with the Neocolor 2 direct to the page, and then I'm going in with my paintbrush, adding a bit of water. When you see me dabbing it on my hand, that's just me dabbing off some of the water. I could have got a piece of kitchen towel, which is what I normally do, to put down, but actually sometimes it's just quicker to dab it on my hand and get some of that water off. And it is only water I'm dabbing. I'm not putting the paint onto my skin, or the colour from the Neocolor 2 onto my skin. So the Neocolor 2s are water reactive, water soluble. So the Neocolor 1s are a wax crayon that doesn't move when you add water to it, but these ones do. Some people do use them just as is, they don't add the water to them, but I do tend to use them with the water, just because if you don't add water, then they're always sitting there ready to be activated at any point. So I'm not being too perfectionist about where I'm putting my lines. I'm not worried if colours overlap. I'm not worried if they're not, going all the way around. I'm just having a bit of fun, and it's really relaxing and enjoyable just to be putting that colour down. Now, I did want to add something into the background. So one of my go-tos is stamping. I started from a stamping sort of background before I even moved into art journaling. So I often like to use them. Now, these stamp sets are by Lemon Creation, Asha Marquette, and I will link her channel in the description box below. She doesn't actually have a physical product shop anymore, but she does do digital products. So if you're interested, you can look her up. I think it's Lemon Creation Shop, or Shop at Lemon Creation, one of those things, if you're interested in any of her digital products. But she doesn't make stamps and stencils anymore, but I do have quite a collection, so I want to use them because, you know, they're fun. But any background stamps would do at this stage. I picked this set called Theo's Birds because it had some stamps that had quite straight lines on, and it also had some circular stamps, and I thought those two would make a nice complement to the background. And I'm going with Archival ink pads because they are permanent once they're dried, and they're able to go over lots of different surfaces. Now you will see some of these colours do not show up very well. That's more to do with the fact that I've had my little mini ink pads for quite a long time, and they are starting to dry up. So, you know, they're not going to be as strong as they could be. This is probably the exception, the Evergreen Bough. But also because obviously they are a smaller ink pad, I don't think they're probably going to last you as long as a big one. But I don't mind that because I sometimes like it to fade into the background a little bit. So the colours were Wild Honey, Sepia, Ground Espresso and Evergreen Bough. And I just chose a different colour for each of the stamps that I chose to use. Then I wanted to lighten this background up a bit. Let me get my teeth back in. And you will see me do this quite often. So I sometimes debate, should I go with a more muted sort of light tone? But actually I like using the white. It's a really good contrast. I enjoy the contrast. If you wanted to, you could have chosen a colour maybe that's already in the background in a lighter version if you didn't want this total, you know, to really stand out. So I'm using the Amsterdam acrylic paint. This is one that comes in a set, so they're like little ones, but it's plenty of paint for me, and it's titanium white. And the stencil is a little dinkable stencil from Be Crafty here in the UK. I think it's probably was called Chevrons or something like that. So I was still going on the theme of using all my favourite types of things, and the industrial theme is one of my favourites, and this is I have to say, I think this is my favourite Maremi collage book, and it's the industrial, let me get this right, it is the Bits and Bobs Industrial Edition book. And I like this one because it's got some characters in, it's got lots of bits and bobs to cut out, it's got tons of light bulbs. I love light bulbs, don't ask me why, I just do. And it's also got some backgroundy bits, houses, and I think it's a really all-encompassing book. So if you like the industrial theme and you've been looking at her books and not sure which one to buy, I have to say I think I would recommend that one first because it gives you a bit of everything. So you still got those characters if you want to put characters in your work, but it's also got butterflies, it's got dragonflies, it's got birds, it's got all sorts, but on an industrial theme, which I really enjoy. So I cut out all the bits in advance because I just wanted to sit and cut out at my leisure rather than on the camera, and then I pop them on my dish, and then I've just organising them on my page. So in advance I did sort of audition them a little bit, so I had a vague idea about where I wanted to put them, but then I'm sort of with the light bulbs, I'm just choosing as I go, thinking what looks nice, and I've gone for an odd number of light bulbs. I wanted it to be that this little character was looking up at the light bulbs, mesmerised and dreaming of what could be, and I thought that would really be nice. And then at the bottom with the little fairy character, I've also got some, I think that they look like they could be either science materials or art materials, so you can make your own mind up about that. Now, once I had made sure this was dry, I'm going in with a Unipin fine liner. Now, I'm really bad at making sure things are dry, but please, if you're using things like your fine liners and that, you really do need to make sure that that background part is dry, because where it's this little fibre tip, it can really damage it very quickly. So I'm just drawing in the strings for the light bulbs, then carefully removing my tape from around the edges, and that is just blue painter's tape. Then I have got the Derwent Inktense pencil in bark. This is probably my most used, probably my second most used. I think my most used Derwent Inktense is Deep Indigo, and then I think it's this one of bark. They're a really good pencil for using for shadow colours. Now, I had put matte medium over my images to stick them down. I use Liquitex. It's just my preference. I like the liquidiness of it, but you know, there are lots of different matte mediums around, and it is an acrylic medium. So if you was then to put something like a distress ink or something like that over the top, you would probably need to add something like a gesso before you could do that, because it wouldn't stick. Now, I find that the Inktense are fine on my projects when I've used the matte medium, but some people find that they struggle getting the Inktense down. So it's, you know, a bit of trial and error. I wasn't too worried. I only wanted to put the shadow around the little fairy character. I wasn't going too mad, so I wasn't worried, you know, if it wasn't all going to look perfect. The good thing about having the matte medium down is if you get it on the piece where you don't want it, you can easily wipe it off. So there I am, just giving it a little dry just to make sure that it's all okay. And then I've got these sentiments from Tim Holtz, Tim Holtz Ideology. There are the labels set, and this one is the thoughts, and it's Dreamer of Dreams, which I thought went well. So if you have enjoyed this video, do please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already subscribed, I'd love it if you could subscribe as well. Also, if you see that hype button, I think it's mostly on the app devices, but you know, it seems to come and go. I don't know why, where sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not, but if you can hit that hype button, it really helps small creators' videos get seen to a greater audience. And here at the end you will see a list of my lovely super supporters. These are my YouTube members, as a big extra thank you to them. And until the next time, thank you so much for watching, and bye bye.